Hi everybody. Today I am making a video. This video, it's not just any video, okay? It is my top 10 favorite movies ever. Okay? Pretty big deal. So obviously wait. I have my list here. And before we start off, I'm going to get some honorable mentions out of the way, all right? So, for what I'd say two of my favorite animated movies of all time. We'll start off there. I have Toy Story 3. Um, I don't know, it just means a lot to me, I guess. So, pretty fun movie. And, yeah, Spider Man Into the Spider Verse. I remember when that movie came out. That was, pretty fun times. And also, before we get any further, I want to clarify I haven't been alive for very long. So, I mean, you might think, well, you gotta watch this movie and you gotta watch that movie. Um, well, I haven't, so, that sucks. Okay, whatever. We'll move on. This is just from what I've seen personally. So, and if you're mad, your favorite movie didn't make the list, I'm sorry, but like, I don't care. Um, it is what it is. So, this is my list, not yours. And also I want to preface that this favorite movies, not the best movies of all time. Okay, so like, you know, I mean, I don't know what you expect to see on here, but like, you mean like the best movies from like a standpoint, like all the critics say? That's not what I'm going off. It's my favorite movies, and most of these movies are pretty well received by critics, I'd say, and people who review and stuff. But yeah, so anyways, we got our first two honorable mentions out of the way. We're gonna say Reservoir Dogs is our next honorable mention. Just a fun little movie that's not very fun and little. Actually, it's very fun, but it's very intense, I guess. Forrest Gump, great story about Forrest Gump. Not much else to say. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Hot take. This is my favorite Indiana Jones movie. I like it better than Raiders of the Lost Ark. I don't know. It's just something about it, man. It's a good movie. I enjoy it very much. And we have Dazed and Confused as my last honorable mention. Just super cool movie. The vibes are amazing. The music, it's so awesome, and it's just it's it's a vibe. I don't know what else you can really say about it, man. So that's what I got to say about my honorable mentions. Now, starting off with the list, we have number 10. We have Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Okay, just so you know, this is my favorite Star Wars movie. I'm sorry, all of you prequels fans. I like Revenge of the Sith. Not good enough to be here, though, in my opinion. Empire Strikes Back. It's such a great movie. Even if you don't like Star Wars, I think you can admit that the movie is very, very good. So, I mean, I guess I'll try to do this on any spoilers, but I assume that most of you have probably seen this movie anyway. It's a very, very famous movie in pop culture and everything. Obviously, this is Yoda's debut, and we love Yoda. So, yeah, I think everybody watching this has probably seen this. If you haven't, you should definitely go check it out, but watch episode 4 first. Episode 4 is good, not as good as episode 5, obviously. And yeah, number 9, okay? You're probably not going to expect this coming from me. This is kind of one of those, like, really, this movie's often in talks for the greatest movie of all time. And, it's The Godfather, okay? And, Godfather, kind of old movie, kind of slow paced. And you might think, well, what is this guy, why is this guy liking this movie, This is a movie for old people. And to that I say it is a movie that really isn't made for me, but for whatever reason, I thought it was a great movie. I think it's probably the best movie I've ever seen, maybe. Not my favorite, but number 9 isn't too shabby. I do like it better than the part 2, which, I mean, you can kind of flip flop that. But overall, a very iconic movie. Some iconic lines about obviously the mafia in the 1940s and 1950s, and it's pretty interesting story, great story as well, and great performance by Marlon Brando and Al Pacino, and all those guys. And number eight, going completely 180 from The Godfather, I have Superbad. Okay, it's a comedy movie starring Jonah Hill, Michael Cera. I'm sure all of you are familiar with it. McLovin. I think everybody knows him. But it's very, like, it's just really funny. It's a great movie to watch, to have a great time with friends, and just to have a great time with yourself, to have some good laughs. It's awesome. I don't really know what else you can say about it. I actually saw it pretty recently for the first time, and what I noticed with comedies is that the second time they usually aren't as good. So maybe when I watch it on rewatch, whenever, maybe it won't be as good as the first time. But I feel like this is one of those movies that is just so good to the point where it's like I don't really care how it's gonna be on the second time because the first time was just so good. But people have different takes about the number seven. Once again, going completely 180 from Superbad, we have The Shining by Stanley Kubrick, and this is the first Kubrick film I've seen. I've only seen two, to be honest with you, but this is he will have another film higher up on this list. But The Shining, it's technically a horror movie. It's very psychologically intense, I guess. It's pretty weird, like really weird. I don't think the average person, even my age, could really understand it. I mean, the average person in general probably, it takes a while to understand. Obviously, based off of a novel that Stephen King wrote. I haven't read it, but consider if it's anywhere near as good as the movie, it's got to be great. So, hang on. All right, sorry about that, but yeah. So, while we're on the topic of The Shining, like I said, it's very confusing. But if you really understand it, and there's so many ideas that start to come to mind, and it's like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? So very cool movie. Anyways, number six, we have another horror film, not as intense as this one, but I'd say maybe it's more fun. We have Scream. Okay, the original one. I'm actually, I have seen Scream 2, and it was awful. I mean, just really bad. First one, though, was phenomenal, in my opinion. Very, very fun movie. I mean, it's not really scary per se, but like, when you're watching it, it's just like, you're having such a good time, and you don't want it to end, and it's kind of like a mystery in a way. I mean, at least for the first time you're seeing it. If you've seen it multiple times, maybe it does lose its value because you kind of already know what's going on. But it's. I feel like the movie is just so good that you try to, like, it doesn't matter that you already know what's gonna happen. I mean, this is a movie that kind of relies on the fact that you don't know what's gonna happen. But I think that some movies are so good to the point where you don't really like on that replay, when you rewatch them, you don't need to know what's not. What the hell am I trying to say? I mean, like when you like, when you like, you know what I mean. Okay, moving on. Number five, we have another horror movie, which was actually, like, I think this was the first horror movie I ever saw. Might actually not have been, but number five, we have the original Halloween from 1978. I mean, this is self-explanatory. I think everybody can see my decision making here. I think it's oh my god, I think it's a really great movie, and you see like background and how it was put together and all that stuff, and it was like, they made that movie for such little money, and it made so much, and it became such a cult classic, from everything, the music, just to the story overall, to Michael Myers. Like, it's perfect for a horror movie. You know, it basically made the genre what it is today. It influenced so many different ways to make horror movies, and so it's the highest horror ranked movie on my list. I mean, it's not extremely scary, but it is pretty scary. And yeah, number four now we have Goodfellas. Okay, kind of similar to The Godfather, but a bit more fun, I'd say. A lot more action packed, crazy stuff going on. Um, Not very appropriate movie. A lot of deaths and stuff. But I mean, what can you expect from a mafia movie? This is actually based off a true story throughout the life about Henry Hill from the 1950s to whenever he got, 1980. I won't spoil anything, but it's a very interesting movie. I feel like I've used that word a lot, but it's really fun. And maybe if you don't like mafia movies, maybe you won't like this one, but if you have the slightest interest, I highly recommend that you go watch it because it's just, it's a great movie all the way through. I have watched this a few times, only two times, so actually not that many times. I don't know what I'm talking about. But, like, it got better on rewatch, if I'm being honest with you, which I feel like isn't that common with a lot of movies. But, I mean, I always liked Goodfellas from the first time I saw it, but then the second time I saw it, it's like, whoa, ooh. I'm sorry, I don't know what that was. But, like, you know, I have to stop saying, But, like, it's just a great movie overall in terms of story and obviously acting. I mean, Joe Pesci won a Best Supporting Role for Oscar, and he definitely deserved it. De Niro's great. Ray Liotta's great. Liotta, sorry. Martin Scorsese, he's a great director. He's made so many awesome movies that I haven't seen a lot of them, but his career's gone on for so long that, he's got to be doing something right. I said again, but that doesn't matter. We're going to move past that. Yeah, self-explanatory. Like I've said about a lot of these films, if you've seen it, I think you can understand why. If you haven't, I recommend it if you have even the slightest interest. Number three, this movie could actually very well be number one. It was my number one for a long time. Number three of Back to the Future. The original, part two and part three are good, but the first one is like, I mean, there's an argument that it's a perfect movie, there's nothing wrong about it at all, and everything about it is good, from acting to story to music to cinematography to the basis is so cool. It's time travel, but with a little twist to it. I'm sure most of us have seen this movie. Maybe not. If you haven't, you should see it. I mean, even if you don't, like, you're like, I don't really care. Well, I don't care that you don't care. I'm gonna make you care. So, you should care. And you should watch the movie because it's a really, really phenomenal movie. I dropped my ball, so I'm gonna pick it up. Oh. Okay, I lost my ball. So, we'll find that later. But, yeah. Come on. You already know. At number two, we have a movie that, not really, like, when I told people in my family that I wanted to watch this movie, they were like, this movie's like, whatever. Like, I don't think you're gonna like it. It's very boring, put you to sleep, super long, super yada 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 yada, whatever. Just basically. And so, they convinced me to the point that I wasn't gonna like it. And then I watched it. And, well, it's just, in my opinion, it's the second best movie I've ever seen. This movie is 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is also in, talks for the greatest movie of all time. I will admit it is very long, and to some people may be very boring because it's not very like action packed. It's a lot of like you kind of got to just like think about what's happening. It's kind of mental. But I mean, if you have the capacity to sit there for 3 hours or however long it is and just think of all the possibilities that could be happening, because it's a really strange movie. I'm not gonna lie. This is the other Stanley Kubrick film, so it's in The Shining. It's similar to the fact that it is very strange. It's very psychedelic-y. You can definitely tell this was made in 1968. Like, come on, like it screams 1968. So it's phenomenal. I mean, I think it's such a great thing. It's helped cinema evolve in so many ways. From like I said, I won't spoil it, but when you watch it, you're just gonna be like, "What just happened?" So this is an easy 10 out of 10 movie for me. In second place, I mean, all these movies are probably 10 out of 10 on this list, maybe, or at least most of them. But yeah, I don't think any film has probably helped cinema evolve, at least that I've seen, like 2001: A Space Odyssey. And number one, this movie, maybe not as critically acclaimed as 2001: A Space Odyssey, but still pretty damn acclaimed. We got Pulp Fiction. It's my number one movie of all time. And, you can say, you might have mixed opinions on this. You might not think it's good enough to be my number one movie of all time or, anybody's favorite, but like, you gotta watch it, man. If you are okay with all of the cussing and all of the action and all the violence, you're gonna love it. It's just one of those movies that no matter what, I think everybody can find a way to enjoy it if you get over the fact that everything is kind of over the top. But like, I mean, it's not even unrealistic in a sense, kind of is, but it's a very well put together film by Quentin Tarantino, who he had an honorable mention on this list earlier in Reservoir Dogs. I haven't seen all of his films, so I think as a director, he will watching more of his movies. They will continue to grow on me because this was just, it's awesome. It's like everything I could want in a film. It's funny. It's fast paced, but it's slow paced at the same time. The script's kind of all over the place, but to the point where it makes sense, which is really hard to pull off. But this movie pulls it off so well, and in fact, it pulls it off so well that it perfected it, and it's the greatest movie that I've ever seen. My favorite movie. Greatest is a different term, but this is definitely still one of the greatest movies I've ever seen, regardless of whether or not it is your favorite movie, or if it's not. This movie should, won the French award. I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm not even going to try. I'm not French. But I can't describe it. Like, it made me feel ways. Like, the film touched me. Like, it touched me. Like, almost like I'm touching you. And it touched me. And it was like, I connected in a sense that was very deep. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I think, like I said earlier, this is a movie that I think anybody can enjoy. So I think you should watch it. I think you should watch all the movies on this list, but particularly this one, because anybody can find a way to enjoy this. Probably not the best movie for people under the age of like 12 to watch, but if you are over the age of 12 or whatever, you're gonna love it. If you can get over the fact that there's a lot of violence and it is a bit over the top, I guess. But I guess that's Tarantino for you. That's Pulp Fiction, and that's me. This is Slice Master 89 saying, slice out, I guess. Alright, bye.